Hello student, I am Sonali Kelkar from City International School, and today we are going to do the last topic of the first chapter of biology, life processes. The last topic is excretion. So let's start with the topic excretion. Excretion. Here let's divide this word into two parts, right? Ex means out, crete means flow. That means there will be an outflow of or the removal of harmful metabolic waste, and namely it is nitrogenous waste from the body, and this is known as excretion. So the process of removal of harmful metabolic waste, mainly nitrogenous waste from the body, is known as excretion. Now what do you mean by nitrogenous waste, right? These nitrogenous wastes are nothing but when the protein, when the protein is divided, or so it is metabolized in liver of human beings. Okay, there the waste products such as urea, uric acid is formed, sometimes ammonia, but ammonia is not a main nitrogenous waste in human being. It's urea and uric acid, right? Ammonia is it is a waste product mainly in fishes, clear? And this is the most hazardous waste product, ammonia, then urea and uric acid. And when they accumulate in our body, they are very harmful to our body. So that is why it is very important to remove nitrogenous waste, right? So when complex protein or when the complex nitrogenous compounds get break down, or okay, in liver, then these ammonia, urea, uric acid, these waste products are formed. The excretion plays an important role in maintaining the homeostatic, that is the steady state condition of body. It is also important for the osmoregulation of body. Organs which are concerned in the formation of uh, urine and storage of urine or elimination of urine together constitute excretory system. Okay, now let's have a look of these organs. Now substances to be get rid of nitrogenous metabolic waste, excess salt and vitamins, water and bile pigments. So these all are the substances which our body doesn't require. Okay, it body require, but it doesn't require in excess amount. Okay, so it has to be thrown out from the body. So let's have a look of excretion in human beings. There are different organs which are responsible for the excretion, right? Let's have a look at this organs. Now the kidney. First, kidneys are the very important and vital organ of our body, and it is a very important organ of excretory system as well. Now as you can see, the shape of kidney is bean shaped, right? And where they are located, they are present on either side of the backbone in abdomen, clear? And you can see that right kidney, it is little lower than the left kidney, because on the right side of our body, liver is present, and liver is the largest organ. Okay, it is a largest glandular organ in a form of a gland. Otherwise skin is the largest organ, but liver is the largest glandular organ. Due to the presence of the liver on the right side of our body, the right side kidney is little it is little low. Okay, then we have a pair of ureter. Here is the pair of ureter 1 and the ureter coming out from either kidney. Okay, and it goes down, and urine in fact goes down from the kidney through ureter, and it gets collect in urinary bladder. And then urinary bladder, at the end of urinary bladder there is a sphincter. Sphincters are circular muscles. Sphincters are present in many different places in our body, right? It is also present in the stomach, on the entry of the stomach and the exit of the stomach, two sphincters are present. Even here the sphincters are present, okay, which helps in the control of urine, right? So urinary bladder, urine produced in the kidney constantly flows through the ureter, collects in urinary bladder. The sphincter guards the opening of bladder into the urethra and relaxes only at the time of urination. Urination is also known as micturition, right? Micturition is the scientific word of urination. So when a person feel like to going to uh, for urination, that time this muscles get relaxed, sphincter muscles get relaxed, and urine passes from the urinary bladder through urethra out of the body. Clear? So kidney produce urine, and urine from kidney passes through ureter into urinary bladder. This we have done. Now what about human excretory system? Urine is produced to filter out. Now what this urine constitute of? This urine constitute of all metabolic waste, right? With that, some salt, sugar shouldn't be there, and salt and waste product of from blood. Then nephron is a basic structure and functional unit of kidney. Now let's have a look of nephron. Structure of nephron. See, this is all. This is what is the structure of nephron. Nephron definition: it is a structure and functional unit of kidney. It consists of glomerulus and its associated tubules, through which the glomerular filtrate passes before it emerges as urine. So we are going to discuss everything which is mentioned here in detail. Nephron. So let's have a look at nephron. So if you can see here, there is afferent arteriole, and this is a part of artery. This is an artery, okay. We have already done that arteries divide, redivide and redivide, and the smallest artery is known as arteriole. This is the afferent arteriole. Afferent means one that enters, right? So this afferent arteriole enters into the Bowman's capsule. This is a Bowman's capsule, right? It enters and then it get tangles and it becomes a mess of tubes. Okay, here it get tangles and very small and thin capillaries are formed here. Okay, if there is a mess of capillaries here, then it goes out. This is what is efferent arteriole. Okay, it going out. This is efferent arteriole. Okay, this tangled mass is known as a glomerulus. This particular mass is known as glomerulus, right? Blood when comes out from afferent arteriole, it is under a great pressure, right? It is under a great pressure because afferent arteriole is little thinner in diameter as compared to efferent arteriole. Efferent are thicker and afferent are thinner in diameter, right? So there is a pressure developed over here. Due to the pressure developed over here, blood filters out. Okay, so extra water, salt, sometimes amino acids, right? They comes out through this and they get collect here. This is called Bowman's capsule. A cup shaped capsule is known as Bowman's capsule. Okay, and the filtrate of glomerulus will get collect here and then it passes through the tubes. This is called proximal convoluted tubes, right? PCT, proximal convoluted tubule. Proxy means close, because this tubule is close to the Bowman's capsule. That is why it has given the name proximal convoluted tubule, right? This convolution, okay, this type of structure increases the surface area, okay, and then it goes down and makes a loop, U-shaped loop. This U-shaped loop is nothing but Henle's loop, right? Here the absorption of water takes place. Maximum absorption of water takes place, children. Right? Almost 180 liter of urine is made every day, but then it has to be absorbed because our body cannot afford to lose so much of water. So this water and salts and sometimes vitamins, okay, they are absorbed, reabsorbed in proximal convoluted tubule as well as in Henle's convoluted tubule, right? And then uh, this tubule further makes, this is called distal convoluted tubule because this is at certain distance from Bowman's capsule. So this is distal convoluted tubules, right? Here also, over here, certain type of secretions takes place by the cell, okay, which are, these cells secrete certain chemicals which are harmful to our body, right? Even sometimes hormones are secreted here, and if a person has fallen ill and he has taken antibiotics, right, all that is secreted here, okay. And then this urine is still not called urine, this is collected in collecting ducts. So here when the whole liquid comes, here we call urine, collecting ducts. So there are millions of nephrons in one kidney, and all these collecting ducts collect urine together and then pour the urine out from the kidney to ureter. Okay, this is how the urine is formed in nephron. Okay, right. Urine formation in kidney. I have already told you the urine formation in kidney. Let's revise one more time. Urine formation involves 3 steps. Number 1, glomerular filtration. Nitrogenous waste, glucose, water, amino acids filter from the blood into Bowman's capsule of nephron, right? Then tubular reabsorption. I have told you about PCT and Henle's tubule, right? Over there, there will be a reabsorption of water and the important salts. Okay, so useful substance from the filtrate are reabsorbed back by capillaries surrounding the nephron. Okay, then secretion, extra water salts are secreted into tubules which opens up into the collecting duct. This secretion takes place in DCT, also distal convoluted tubule. Over there, extra water and salts, okay, which are not necessary in our body, which are harmful to our body, they are secreted out, and then it leads to collecting tubules, and then from there it goes to ureter. The purpose of making urine is to filter out waste product from the body, and these waste products are the metabolic waste of nitrogenous complex compound, right? And where this breaking down of nitrogenous compound takes place, it takes place in liver. Okay, now let's uh, study about hemodialysis. You must have heard the word, heard about kidney failure. So what happens in kidney failure? The blood is artificially purified because the kidney has failed. It cannot purify the blood. Kidney is a filtration plant of our body. Okay, so it cannot filter the blood, cannot purify the blood. So in that case, the patient's blood is purified by artificial machines, or we can say artificial kidney, and the process is known as hemodialysis. So let's have a detailed look of hemodialysis. Here, the blood of a patient whose kidney is completely damaged is filtered through a machine called dialysis. Okay, it is also called dialyzer machine. It removes urea and excess salt from body, also called artificial kidney. And the process of purification of blood by artificial kidney is hemodialysis. Now let's see how does it takes place. Okay, the machine is first attached to, okay, uh, artery, okay, from artery to pump blood. So blood is collected from artery, from the artery of patient, right, and then it is allowed to go through these fine tubes, right? These tubes made up of selectively permeable membrane. Why there should be a selectively permeable membrane? Because diffusion can take place only through selectively permeable membrane. Okay, and there are these tubes are in a tank, and this tank is filled with dialysing solution, right? Dialysing solution has same osmotic pressure as of blood, right? Then the nitrogenous waste which is present in patient's blood, that will come out through these tubes, right? That will come out through these tubes, and then it will be removed. Here you can see used dialysing solution. This has excess of urea and excess of salt. Now once the blood get filtered over here, it is then again pumped into the vein of patient, right? This is how this artificial kidney works. Let's see the excretion in plants, children. The excretion in plant is quite different from excretion in human beings, right? So the first of all, their excretory products, whatever they excrete, are good for human beings, except one or two. Okay, excretion number one, they excrete oxygen. Excretion in form of a gas, that is oxygen, right, which is a product of photosynthesis, right? At night they excrete carbon dioxide, that is also important in for our environment, right? And again, this carbon dioxide can be recycled by plants. And water, it is important. So excess water is removed by transpiration. This water is important for environment to be cooled down, even for plants to get cool. Then some waste product get stored in leaves, and then these leaves falls off, right? Then many waste products are stored in vacuoles, right? So these vacuoles are important for the turgidity of plants. Then some waste products are stored as resins and gums in old xylem, right? We know the use of gums, okay? Then plants excrete some waste materials into the soil around them. So whatever excretory material excreta secreted by plant, that is useful for us and for our environment. So this is all about the excretion in human beings and plants. There are two activities remaining. So I want to discuss these two activities which were the part of nutrition, right? Part of photosynthesis, in fact. So let's do these two activities. Activity 1, to show that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. This is a very important activity, children, and questions can be asked from these activities. This is the one, the other one is also we are going to discuss, right? What we have to do in this experiment to show that chlorophyll is essential for photosynthesis. So you have to first take a plant with variegated leaves. This is the example of variegated leaf. Money plant is also an example of variegated leaves, and croton is also an example of variegated leaves, right? So you can see the dark and the green and the pale color patches. So these type of leaves are called variegated leaves, right? So you need to pluck the variegated leaf from the plant, but before that you have to destarch the plant. Destarch the plant means you have to keep the plant in a dark room, in a room for 3 days, 72 hours, right? And once it get destarched, that means whatever starch is produced, it be utilized. Okay, so you have to destarch the whole plant. Then what you have to do, you have to then take that plant and keep under the sunlight, okay, for about 6 hours, right? And then you have to pluck a leaf from that plant, okay? And when you pluck the leaf, you have to boil that leaf for a few minutes. Why do we need to boil the leaf? Because I want the cell to release whatever starch it has, right? Because this boiling will kill the cells. The boiling of water, so if you boil this leaf, okay, then it will kill cells. When cells get killed, it will release chlorophyll, okay, whatever chlorophyll it has, right? It will release starch, okay. Then immerse it in a beaker containing alcohol and boil it in a water bath till it decolorizes, right? So you need to boil this leaf with leaf in a beaker containing alcohol. Fine. So when you boil it with alcohol, what will happen? Chlorophyll will be released. When you boil in water, what will happen? The cells will get die. Okay. Whatever is there present in the cell, it will come out. When you boil in alcohol, chlorophyll will get released. But you cannot boil directly, like you cannot keep the leaf directly on in a dish with alcohol and keep it on a flame, because alcohol will catch fire, right? So what you have to do, you have to take a dish, you have to put alcohol in it, then put the leaf, and then you have to take another dish with water, and then you have to boil. So this type of apparatus is known as water bath. Okay, water bath till it decolorizes, so it will get decolorized, right? The leaf is then dipped in a dilute solution of iodine for a few minutes. Okay, then after that you have to rinse the extra dilute solution, and then you have to observe the change in the color of leaf. Okay, before you start with the experiment, you need to trace the leaf. So we have traced the leaf. Okay, and why you have to trace the leaf? Because you can compare the color, right? So during when you observe, after doing everything, when you observe, you will see that wherever the green color patch was there in the leaf, that has changed into bluish black in color. So see this starch change into bluish black when it react with iodine. So when iodine is put with starch, when it get mixed with starch, it changes into, the starch changes into bluish black. Okay, but the rest of the part is brown in color, okay, or pale in color. So it shows that wherever there are chlorophyll, there was chlorophyll. Wherever there was chlorophyll, starch formation was there, right? That means chlorophyll essential for starch formation. This is what is the conclusion of this experiment. Now let's have a look at second experiment. Okay, now this is to show that carbon dioxide is necessary for photosynthesis. Okay, what you have to do, the procedure is, you have to take two healthy potted plant. I have taken two healthy potted plant, and there is a bell jar. Then you have to cover this plant with bell jar, and then you have to grease it well. You have to put Vaseline here, so that there won't be an entry of air inside this bell jar, right? With the first potted plant, okay, over here you are going to keep watch glass containing potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide is KOH. Okay, potassium hydroxide is KOH. Okay, this potassium hydroxide is very important from the point of view of exam. Potassium hydroxide will absorb carbon dioxide which is present in this bell jar. Okay, because you have taken the pot and then you have covered with bell jar, right? So there must be some air inside. In that air, definitely carbon dioxide will be there. So KOH will help to absorb carbon dioxide gas, whereas in the other bell jar, in the B, we haven't put any potassium hydroxide. Clear? And then you are going to keep this plant in sunlight so that photosynthesis can take place, right? But what you will observe, that both plants do not show the presence of same amount of starch, because in photosynthesis starch is produced using sunlight, chlorophyll and carbon dioxide. So here you will see the starch is not produced at the same amount. Okay, here the starch has produced a lot, right? Here there is no production of starch because KOH has almost absorbed most of the amount of carbon dioxide here. In the second step, the leaves will have more amount of starch. So what is the conclusion of this experiment? We conclude that carbon dioxide is very essential for the photosynthesis, right student? And here we have finished our first chapter, that is life processes. And in the next session, I am going to take few important question answers. Clear? and afterwards we are going to start with the new chapter. Okay, students, so please practice what I have taught you and practice today's topic. So thank you all of you.